Wolfenstein released back in August of 2009. And no, this is not the first Wolfenstein that came back out in the early 90s, which is called Wolfenstein 3D. But Raven Software published a Wolfenstein game back in 2009, and now this game is seemingly impossible to find online on any familiar storefronts like Steam, GOG, or the Epic Games Store. You can find them on eBay with disc copies selling for $30 and upwards, but, you're taking some risk there, or you can pirate the game, which is honestly what I ended up doing, because even if I buy a copy from eBay, that game was bought a long time ago. Raven Software and the developers behind it aren't going to see any of that money anyway, and I wanted to play this game because I had some nostalgia for it, because I played it on the Xbox 360 back in 2009 when it was released, and it was a very unique entry into the Wolfenstein franchise. So today we're going to be talking about that, Raven Software, where they went wrong, and where they are today. But first, today's video is brought to you by SuperCDK.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for just $22, and then you can unlock the prestigious Dark Mode for Windows 10, which I honestly could not live without. It is blinding without the dark mode. You guys need it in your life. And now you can also save an additional 25% off at checkout by clicking Buy Now on any software products over there. Just go ahead and add it into your cart and put in my code JP25 at checkout and apply, and that'll bring our price from $22.44 all the way down to $16.83, a savings of over $5. And I'll walk you through how to get your key and install it on Windows 10. Go ahead and click Submit Order and complete your checkout from there. For me, that's going to be with PayPal, and then click on Pay Now. After completing the checkout, it'll bring you to your purchased order page, and it will update in a matter of seconds, or just go ahead and hit F5. Go ahead and do that one time. It came through literally immediately. I got the payment email that it had gone through and the delivery of the product exactly at the same time. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click on View Keys and Codes, and we'll get our code right here that we can go ahead and copy and paste in on Windows 10 by hitting the Start button and type in the word Activate. When you see that activation settings, or see if Windows is activated, go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring up this right here, and click on Change Your Product Key or Unlock Windows 10. As I already have Windows 10, I obviously don't need to put in a new key, but just paste it in, and then go ahead and click Next, and you are all done and set. For more information on SuperCDK.com, as well as the coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. So everyone is pretty much familiar with the Wolfenstein games. It's a first-person shooter. Back they had Wolfenstein 3D. Loved that game when I was a youngster. Returned to Castle Wolfenstein, and then eventually having the newer Wolfenstein games come out, like New Colossus, Old Blood, so on and so forth. The revamp of the Wolfenstein franchise has been excellent, as well as the Doom franchise too, have all been fantastic over the recent years. But back in 2009, a lone title, Wolfenstein, launched from Raven Software, who also worked on Singularity, which came out a year after that. And after Singularity came out, which I also loved, by the way, it also had some similar vibes to Wolfenstein, because they sort of dove into some things with Wolfenstein, like the occult, and it was a little bit more of a sci-fi game. Like, yes, it was World War II, and you were still running around shooting Nazis in the face and stealing all of the Nazi gold. But there was also an occult aspect to it, where there was like these rituals and some special abilities that would slow down time or have enemies floating in the air. Things like that, and trying to find weak spots in different enemies by using these different abilities in the game, like Veil and Mire, which you could activate and then regenerate in these pools in the game. So very different from other Wolfenstein games that were pretty much just straightforward shooting Nazis in the face, although some of them have dabbled and dipped their toes into the world of the occult and mentioning some of that with the technology and stuff in the Wolfenstein games. But the one from Raven Software that came out in 2009 went full-on head into it, and I was actually a huge fan. The game did not get bad reviews by any means. On Metacritic now, it has an average user score of 7.6 on the PC and 74 from reviewers. So, obviously, not a terribly reviewed game, but it wasn't a banger, and sadly, it sort of led down the road of Raven Software more or less being not necessarily shut down, but sort of redesignated within the company to more or less working on Call of Duty map packs and polishing Warzone with bug fixes and things of the like. Now, before Wolfenstein came out in 2009, they also worked on some other really great games using the id Tech engine along with the likes of John Romero on titles like Heretic, Hexen, and Hexen 2. So they have some pretty great games under their belt. And I also mentioned Singularity. That was a game that came out a year after, and they pretty much were working with a skeleton team by that point because they essentially went over budget with Wolfenstein, and it didn't really get met with a ton of success, even though, like I said, it wasn't poorly reviewed or anything. But at the time, Call of Duty was pretty much all of the rage, and the multiplayer component of the 2009 Wolfenstein was sort of just slapped on there as something like it needed to have. And I do remember playing it back in the day, and it wasn't that great. But the single player was a very enjoyable campaign for what it was for its time, and it still was fun jumping back on there and playing it after all these years, honestly. So it's kind of sad to see that this Wolfenstein game was the beginning of the undoing of Raven Software as they went over budget with Wolfenstein, and then the company made major layoffs of over 30 staff members, leaving 2 development teams. This was then reduced even more with more layoffs in October 2010 after delays with Singularity, and as many as 40 staff members were released at that time. And following the layoffs, and after id Software was bought by ZeniMax Media, Raven has since pretty much primarily been involved with the Call of Duty series, and they're more or less considered the face of maintaining, updating, and debugging Call of Duty Warzone and posting patch notes and stuff online. But they also did recently work on the remakes of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare as well as Modern Warfare Remastered. And on top of that, they've also been involved sort of in the background as sort of like a second or even third team on titles like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, working along with Treyarch on the multiplayer portion of those games. So they're still out there, but they're really not developing their own titles, which is really what I would like to see. I would love to see them be able to get back to their own form and developing their own games, because I thought they had a very unique take on these first-person shooters, bringing in some of these sci-fi, and occult elements into these titles. Now, I said at the beginning, you can find Wolfenstein for the PC from 2009 over on eBay, but they sell for about $30 and upwards. And I'm not the only person that is looking for this game to come out. There are people on the Steam forums posting all the time asking where they can find Wolfenstein 2009. Some people link to physical copies you can get on Amazon, but I wasn't able to locate anything for under $70 for a game from 2009 because they've become fairly scarce, where honestly this should be something that is on Steam or GOG that you should be able to pick up for, I would say, $20 or less, or maybe $30 or less. Honestly, even like $10 would be fair, but even Singularity is selling for $30 over on Steam, and I think a lot of people would enjoy this game because I'm sure many people maybe missed it, or people that played the newer Wolfenstein games and maybe that was their first entries into the franchise that they were able to experience. This is still a great game. I was playing it. It wasn't perfect by any means. There was a couple of bugs and glitches here or there. The game was locked to 60 frames per second, and there were some issues with the field of view and things like that, and the head bob is a little crazy. Thankfully, there are a lot of fixes available for some of the issues if you wanted to get the game running at, say, 120 or 144 hertz or ultra wide, things along those lines. If you go look on PC Gaming Wiki, I'll leave a link to the Wolfenstein page on there that has all of these fixes, which are very easy to do. Most of them just involve adding a couple of extra lines into the config file for the game that you could just copy paste in there, and then you're off to the races and running. The only one that I had an issue with was disable the head bob. The head bobbing in this game when you sprint is pretty darn extreme, honestly. And when I disabled it, it made it so that I could no longer sprint, which was obviously problematic. So I was forced to more or less put up with the head bobbing if I wanted to be able to sprint in the game, which can be kind of important when you're running away from Nazis in the occult trying to murder you. So that's all I really got to say on Wolfenstein. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to raise awareness for this game, and maybe hopefully someone out there from Steam or Epic or GOG sees this and they'll start selling it again back on their storefronts, because honestly, I can't see any reason why it would hurt them, to have this game listed, for purchase on any one of those websites, rather than people going out and trying to pirate the game, which obviously you can do very easily. It's a very old game and pretty easy to find, a hell of a lot easier than it is to purchase a copy legitimately, where it could still maybe benefit the people that actually made the game. Like I said, you can get them on eBay for $30, but you're getting copies from people that already bought these games years ago, and that money has already made its way to Raven and, the developers behind the game, so nobody else is going to be making money off of it apart from the people on eBay selling their, secondhand copies of Wolfenstein from 2009. So if this game were to come back and show up on Steam, it would actually, be a good thing for Raven Software and maybe get some attention back on them, and maybe we could see some more titles from them in the future. Thankfully, as I said, Singularity is still out there. That was that's pretty much like the last big title that they put out themselves, where they weren't, working behind the scenes on the Call of Duty franchise with a bunch of other studios that just polish their turds and, work on map packs and things of the like. So Singularity, that you can grab on Steam, and I do highly recommend it. Even though it's, been out for 12 years now, still holds up fairly well in the gameplay department. Things are still fairly modern as far as the controls and everything are concerned. It's got very positive reviews on Steam, so I definitely recommend checking that out, although $30 is a little bit steep for a game that old, but I'm sure if you look around, you could probably find it on offer, and maybe during something like a Steam summer sale, the price might come down on that. But especially also, I remember big time about Singularity is when that game came out, it was pretty much during the peak of the TV series Lost, pretty much when that was at its peak in popularity. And this game was chock full of Lost Easter eggs and references to the TV series. So I definitely appreciated that at the time when I played it, because I was such a big super fan of the TV series Lost, which I've probably watched at least half a dozen times from start to finish. Loved that show. I wish something like it would come back, although I doubt it would really be able to recapture the magic that the original one had. But, a lot of other shows have tried to do something similar, but really nothing has kind of come close, except for a recent show that came out starring one of the people from Lost, whose name escapes me, but it's on the Epix channel, and it's called From. Just From, F-R-O-M, and it's about people that, through whatever means, various different reasons, end up in this small town, and when they get there, they can't leave. And at nighttime, they have to stay in their houses and use these charms to keep these blood-sucking creatures from coming in. Kind of like vampires, but not necessarily. Sort of like vampires, though, that drain these people and can sort of put a spell on you by talking to you and convincing you to sort of come out of your homes, because they can't enter the people's homes. That's the one thing. As long as they're in their houses and they have the charms up on the doorway, these creatures cannot get in their homes. But if for whatever reason you end up out on the street at night, you're pretty much going to get torn to bits by these monsters. And it sounds kind of silly, but if you liked Lost, check out From. Like I said, I can't remember the name of the guy's name, but he played Michael on the Lost TV series. He was he's a black actor, and he was the father of Walt on the show on Lost. But his name escapes me right now. But definitely check out From. Man, this video's kind of gone all over the place. We've talked about Singularity, Raven Software, Wolfenstein, the history on that, and then Lost and From. So there you go. Kind of just wanted to put this video out and kind of talk about it. So let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. And if I come across any other titles like this in the future, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing more videos like this. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time for another video. Peace.